Welcome,
Okay.
Siobhan. Tell us about
Okay.
yourself.
All right, Matt. Okay. Okay. Well, Siobhan Lime is my name. I am kind of a mixed bag of careers. And I like the new sexy term, which is portfolio career. So I started off my career life in medicine, and I trained in general practice in Ireland. I'm an Irish graduate of the Royal College of Surgeons. And I did all the various training involved in general practice. I practiced in Ireland and in the UK. Um, and I basically was in medicine for about 10 years, and then I transitioned into psychology. So I did a psychology degree. And I worked in academia and research in a university in London for about 10 years. And my reason for kind of leaving is that basically I tried really hard to make medicine work for me. And I realized that actually it wasn't right for me. That I found it incredibly stressful, and I'm too much of a worrier, and I'm very risk averse. So medicine didn't particularly suit me for that reasons, but I gave it a good bash. And that's why I kind of transitioned out. But I've transitioned again in that I had two really positive experiences of coaching. And it kind of was always in the back of my mind, coaching, there was such a lovely thing to do. And so eventually I actually bit the bullet and did a master's in coaching and mentoring practice in Oxford Brookes. And now that's what I'm doing, kind of 100% that, along with kind of leadership and development courses and training as well. And so yes, that's my kind of portfolio career with three
Certainly a
steps.
lot, certainly a lot of variety there, Siobhan.
Yeah, lots of variety. Yeah.
What actually is coaching?
Okay, so coaching. So coaching is basically a kind of a non-directive, facilitative relationship that a coach has with a coachee. So it's about helping somebody help themselves, really. So you can come to coaching with a variety of different dilemmas. So it could be a health dilemma. You want to lose weight, you want to give up smoking. It could be a career dilemma. So trying to decide what to do about your career, whether you want to stay in your job, change it. You could be, retiring, you want to know what to do next. It could be a relationship issue. It could be problems with communicating at work, you're dealing with conflict, or just, personal relationships. So coaching can help with a huge variety of things. But the important thing to understand about coaching is that it's the coach's job is to help you, help yourself to understand more about yourself and to find within you your own solutions. So a coach should never tell you or give you advice about how to do things or how to fix yourself. It's not about that. It's about, asking the right questions to help you reflect on yourself, your situation, when you're at your best, and what are your values. And it's important to distinguish coaching from other kind of helping relationships. One example is mentoring. And mentoring is about helping somebody, usually in their career in some way, but it's very much about giving advice, and about helping somebody, get on at work, maybe introducing them to the right people, etc. So that's different. You may use similar skills, but that's the difference in kind of the advice giving and making those introductions. It also uses very similar skills to counseling, in that the most important skill for a coach is that they listen really, really carefully to everything you're saying and what you're not saying, and even your body language. So we use similar skills that counselors use, but counseling is about dealing with mental health issues, and about treating you, but also kind of diagnosis as well. Whereas coaches, it's not about treating you or fixing you, and we don't make any diagnosis either. But there is a crossover those skills, And it's not about mental health, it's about kind of life dilemmas rather than, having depression or anxiety, which obviously a counsellor would help work you through those kind of issues with your mental health. So yeah, that's coaching.
So I'm hearing you saying coaching then is, it's the coach is there to ask question so that the coachee taps into what they already know and what the strengths are and what the beliefs are, and helps them make decisions for themselves. Mentoring has perhaps much more of a kind of workplace. I have a vision of a senior colleague that shares their experiences, makes suggestions, puts you in touch with other people, even though they might again be a really good listener and somebody who asks really good questions. And a counsellor, again, they'll be a good listener and ask good questions, but a counsellor or a psychotherapist, they'll be diagnosing you, and the focus then is much more on mental health related issues rather than on helping the coachee identify what they already know and what the strengths are.
Yeah. It's interesting you saying what they already know. In my experience, an awful lot of what comes up in coaching is people don't always have a conscious awareness of a lot of things about themselves, like about what motivates them or what their values are. Because I don't think we allow ourselves to reflect on those things. We tend to be very driven, about, career or looking after our children, or, just getting on in life, that we forget to actually reflect on ourselves. And so coaching is about kind of allowing ourselves to do that and bring these things, to the fore, basically.
Yeah, I was going to ask that because, because we're scientists, we deal with data, we're objective. If I look for help, I want to go to an expert. I want to go to somebody who's going to tell me this is what you need to do. So, why would I go and see a coach?
Yeah. So if the coach does try and be directive and give you advice, then they're not a coach. They're not in the true sense, because they should never give you advice. So the expertise in the coach is that they will have developed skills of where they listen to you and they ask you the right questions that help you really think about where you've been, where you're at, and where you're going to, and what's got you to where you are, and perhaps what challenge you as to what needs to change, for you to flourish. So in other words, challenge. So coaching always involves an element of challenge, and it's important to negotiate how much challenge each individual coachee wants or is able for, and that can change throughout the relationship. So in the beginning, somebody might be quite reticent to be challenged, but as the relationship develops, hopefully they're more comfortable in being asked kind of questions that make them go, oh, yeah, I hadn't really thought about that before.
So the thing that strikes me as really important there, you said this idea that people don't take the time.
Yes.
Actually, people don't take the time to notice what drives them, what motivates them, what gives their life meaning, what makes them thrive. And that's stuff that exists within the coachee, but people don't know it, or people don't take time to notice it. And the role of a coach is to help them notice and recognize and work with those things.
Yes, yeah. And interestingly, I had a client recently who said that she felt it was, was she being too indulgent by having coaching? But she's, also realized that how valuable it is, and how she hasn't given herself a chance to actually really think about what is really important to her. And yeah, it's probably, indulgence is probably the wrong word. It's probably something, that we all should have some kind of access to at certain points in our life, and to kind of help us, reflect. And I think you have to kind of reflect, especially when you're making really important decisions. It's really important that you kind of have a better understanding of yourself, especially of your values, of what's important to you.
So you mentioned that a coach will ask questions, and a coach will listen, and a coach will challenge. For somebody who's never had coaching, what might they expect?
It was so before you even kind of develop or start a coaching relationship with somebody, you should have an opportunity to kind of meet them, you know, and like a no cost meeting, where you can decide whether you kind of hit it off with that person. And because like counseling and like mentoring, what's the crux of coaching and kind of determines, or one of the big things that determines success, is the relationship between the coach and the coachee. So if you meet somebody and you think, I don't think this is going to work, then that's definitely not the coach for you. So yes, so it's really important to if somebody doesn't offer to meet you first, then that's not a good idea. That's probably not the coach, certainly that I would say would be suitable, because if they're not willing to meet you for free for a quick chat, then there's something up there. So what should they expect? You should expect to basically, the sessions, most people would offer about between 5 and 6 sessions, usually about an hour and a half long. You should expect to spend a lot of time talking about yourself. You should expect to be very active, because it's about you, and it's also about the work that you do. So your coaching, no matter how good your coach is, it will not be successful unless you're willing to put an awful lot of effort into it. And also to be honest, you know, because there's no point in not being yourself and not being honest, because you're not going to get anything really out of the coaching. You should also expect to do some work in between sessions. So whether that's kind of doing some reflections on something that's come up during a session, or maybe some exercises that the coach might suggest for you to do. And you should expect some challenge, but some people really, really do struggle with challenge, and that will be negotiated, as I already said. So if that's something that worries you, you know, that will be discussed with your coach. You won't be pushed unless you're ready for it.
You mentioned that it's really important to meet the coach
Yeah.
at the beginning before you agree to a coaching assignment of however many hours.
Yeah.
Again, for somebody who's looking for coaching, what should they look for in a coach?
Yeah. Okay. That's a really good question, Matt. Because unfortunately, coaching is currently not regulated, so it's not regulated, like counseling would be, or like doctors are very, very, very closely regulated. So anybody could call themselves a coach, and that can be quite dangerous. So what I would say is to look for their qualifications. So where did they get their training? So there's a load of different organizations that offer training. So there's the International Coaching Federation, and then there's the Chartered Management Institute. They offer various levels of coaching, and also there's academic coaching qualifications. So various universities that offer courses in coaching, you know, from certificate, diploma to masters, etc. But there are lots of other routes, and if you're not sure about the route they've taken, I would check to see how they're accredited. So there are various international coaching accreditation organizations. So there's the EMCC in the UK and the Association of Coaching. They're both kind of UK based, but also international. And then there's the International Coaching Federation, the ICF. So I would check to see what's their qualification? So how do they get themselves trained, and are they accredited with a recognized organization? That would be very important, because the relationship is so important. Just as we've already said, you know, have you an opportunity to meet them, and ideally, if you've got some kind of endorsement, it'd be great if you had a personal endorsement. But if not, maybe go and look on their website, LinkedIn, etc., to see if you can get kind of a feel for the person. They may have written something that you like the tone of, or done a podcast. The other thing is, really, most coaches, certainly those who are accredited and have done the correct training, will be in some kind of supervision. So whether that's one-to-one or some kind of group support supervision. So you could find out about that. Also, it may be important to you that you have a coach that has experience in the area that you're looking at. So, you know, so if you're a doctor, you're looking for career coaching or just a coaching dilemma, maybe it might be a good idea to find, you know, a fellow doctor, but not necessarily. You might want somebody who has no experience of your area. So it depends on your preference yourself. But I think they're kind of the main things that I would look at for. Yeah, I think
So
so.
there's a bit of homework to be done.
Yes.
Looking what have they got, a website, LinkedIn,
Mhm.
Facebook, Twitter, wherever the coach might appear, or
Yeah.
what have they written. Look at the ACE, MCC, and ICF. Are they a member of those organizations? So going online
Yes.
and finding them. I mean, how does one find a coach?
Yeah. Well, there's loads of different ways. Is that the kind of ideal would be if somebody would kind of recommended somebody else. But you know, there's Google, um, and you could even go into the various accreditation organizations. I haven't said that. Prior to starting to just talk to you today, Matt, I checked to make sure that my name was on the EMCC, and it wasn't. So I was really glad I checked. So I'm in the process of sorting that out. But yeah, you should be able to check the directory for somebody. But LinkedIn is great now because you can see people's qualifications and exactly what they've done. So that's really useful. Yeah, and I guess you could even, there's loads of different organizations out there. But then, a fancy website doesn't mean that somebody is suitable for you. So again, look for those things such as accreditation and qualifications. But the accreditation bodies is a good place to start.
Yeah, so I'm hearing there about triangulation of evidence
Yeah.
the professional body, they
Mhm.
might not be up to date, and in fact, I've not checked mine for a long time,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
even if I am on it, it won't be a very up to date listing because it isn't something that I would necessarily personally do. So yeah, so looking at all different sources rather than just relying on
Mhm.
one piece of information.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because that way, if there's something not quite right in one particular source, then as you said, triangulation is a great way of doing it because you're checking somewhere else as well. Yeah.
Are all coaches the same?
No, just like every person is different, every doctor is different. No, definitely not. And that's why meeting somebody, it's usually online, it is a great way to find out whether you can hit it off, and also maybe a good opportunity to find out, what the process is, how they work. Um, because how they work might not suit you. You might want to work with somebody who uses, psychometric tests, or you might want to avoid that completely. You might want to know kind of what their kind of ethos is when it comes to kind of homework, how often the sessions are. I think there should be at least a week, if at all possible, between sessions. Because coaching, a huge part of coaching is about reflection, and you need time to reflect. So how somebody works, I think, is really important. How often they suggest that they meet you, and for how long as well.
So there's the personality
Yeah.
that means that you click on that level, but
Mhm.
also different coaches have very different ways of working, and therefore that's something that a potential coachee needs to know, that how the person works, they're comfortable with that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell me
Um,
about psychometric testing and what's your
yeah.
view on those?
So psychometric testing, they have their place. I don't use them in coaching, um, because I know sometimes when I'm filling in a psychometric test, sometimes you have questions and you go, well, sometimes a question is true in this situation, but it's not true in another situation. So they're not very personal. So I prefer to use more kind of what I would call kind of qualitative type of exercises, where it's very much about you, and every single person will fill in whatever the exercise is in a completely different way. And usually when I get somebody to do a kind of exercise, it's not necessarily about the nitty-gritty of the exercise. It's about the reflection and what they actually learn from doing the exercise. Whereas I think psychometric tests, in my opinion, you miss that, and also it tends to box people into boxes that they might not belong to.
Let's focus on to career coaching. So what specifically is career coaching?
Okay, so career coaching, or sometimes career counseling it's called, but effectively it's the same thing. So it's a type of coaching very much focused on career, or kind of career dilemmas. So it could be about somebody, starting off in their career, trying to decide, what they want to do with their life. Or it could be somebody who's having, wondering about changing career, or maybe they've been made redundant, or they're going to retire, and they're wondering what to do next. But the outcome of career counseling or coaching does not have to be a career change. It could be that you just gain deeper understanding of what you require from your job. And it could be that you take that understanding and then you can make changes within your job, if that's within your power. Or if it's not, if there's certain values that are being missed within your job, perhaps you can actually go somewhere else and along with your job. If you're a pathologist, you love your job, you love pathology, but you're missing, people. Maybe you can go and join a choir. So the outcome of career counseling is not necessarily a change in career, but sometimes it might be. It might just be tweaks somewhere else in your life. But yes, but the big difference between that and just general coaching is it's very much focused on a career, and on finding, is what you're doing actually fulfilling for you when you look at your values, your motivations, your skills, your strengths, etc.
So I think if I was looking for career change, I wonder whether I would expect somebody to run me through a series of questionnaires and then give me a printout of the top 3 careers.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing that that's not what career coaching is.
No. So, and it can be confused with the type of career guidance that people may have had in school, which may involve psychometric tests. I don't know whether they do them in the schools or not. But the kind of point of career counseling is not about telling you these are all the jobs that are available, because everybody has access to all that information. You can go and find that out yourself. But what's incredibly difficult to do, and I know I've said this several times during the course of the podcast so far, is to actually understand yourself. And career counseling is about really getting to the nitty-gritty of what makes a person tick. What do I really want day to day? So for some person, it might be really important to have a steady income. For others, what might be important is a work-life balance. And for others, it might be to be an expert in their field. Others, they want to help support individuals, help people grow. So getting to the nitty-gritty of that is what career counseling is about. It's not about, if you're a medical student, these are all the things you can go into. Medical students have access to that information and they can find it easily, totally by themselves. What they can't do by themselves, well, obviously some people can, but what is difficult to do by yourself is to get to the crux of, what will really fulfill you. What do you need in your life, in your day-to-day life, to feel, fulfilled?
And questionnaires and machines and analysis, they can't do that, because the only person that can know what really fulfills you is you, and no amount of testing, etc., can figure out what it is that will fulfill the individual. The only person that can figure that out is the individual.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a difficult thing to do by yourself. That's why it's really nice to be guided through it, with a career coach. I wish I'd had it a long time ago. But when I did have my coaching, it was incredibly helpful, and it helped me make, I had it twice in my life, helped me make 2 really important decisions. Yeah, obviously I'm completely biased because I am a coach, but that's my personal experience as well.
Okay. So it's career coaching. It's helping you figure out what you want and what is going to give you satisfaction in a meaningful career. And it's not somebody else diagnosing you and telling you this is the perfect career for you. Nor is it a career matching scheme where somebody will say, you know, this is the job. I have the job for you.
No, no. And I have seen people who they're so skilled, and they have so many skills. They've got people skills, they've got analytic skills, and they've got a huge amount of experience, and they don't know what to do. You know, they've been made redundant, or they're moving on for whatever reason. But so what the career coaching really helped them with is to really get to the crux of what was important to them, and it often boils down to about three values, and then taking these values and then looking at various opportunities and seeing, do they fulfill my values? You know, do they allow me to be sustainable? Do they allow me to have time, you know, with my children, etc.? Depending on your value, everybody is different. But getting to those kind of, and just in my experience, it tends to boil down to about three things. Are those three things being fulfilled in my next move?
I can see that also being challenging because, you know, you said
Mm-hmm.
somebody wants life balance or
Yeah.
somebody wants good colleagues, but there's
Mm,
loads of jobs out there where you can have
mm,
good colleagues and
mm,
life balance. So I'm
mm,
hearing that an outcome of career coaching might not be this is the one job for you. You know,
mm-hmm.
an outcome of career coaching will be these are the things that matter to you, and
Yeah.
there are many jobs that would meet those values.
Yeah. Yeah. It can, yes, absolutely. But also it can also help you narrow down as well, even within those values. So you think about your strengths. What are your strengths? So if your strengths are not communicating with people, then therefore that will narrow down an awful lot of careers that involve, you know, communicating with people. Is it if a strength is being, you know, analytic and working independently and autonomous, then that's a different type of career again. So it's kind of pulling all these kind of things together. Yeah, you're not just your values, but your strengths, but also what motivates you.
Mhm.
If people, if kind of supporting people motivates you, then that will bring you down a certain career path. But if money motivates you, and for some that's really important, you know, depending on their experience. Maybe they haven't had security and they know what it's like to have no money and to struggle and not to be able to, you know, have money to pay for their children to go to ballet lessons, etc. Then that could be really important.
Mhm.
So it's just pulling it all together, really.
So something there about this is what really matters to me. This is what I want, but then also this is what I'm good at, and
Mm-hmm.
this is what motivates me. Yeah.
Mm,
So
yeah.
when somebody's thinking, I wonder should I have career coaching? How do you know that you're ready to have career coaching?
Okay. Well, obviously, if you're even thinking about it, then there's probably something going on in the foreground or the background regarding your career. So maybe you're in you have to choose. Maybe you have to decide on your, you know, if you're leaving university or if you're finishing, and you know, and you have to apply for a career path. You know, whether you're a doctor or another career, and you have to make a decision. Then that's probably a good time. um, or some other transition like redundancy or whatever, or you're in a crisis. Now, the important thing is you need to also be kind of psychologically ready. So if somebody has had, it's important that you're able to engage with the process. Um, so you have to be kind of motivated, you have to want, so you cannot force somebody to do it, so you have to want to do it. You also have to be, you know, if you've got something going on that's really distracting. So if you're having really bad depression, or you're in, you know, an addiction or some other mental health condition, which stops you from engaging with the career coaching process, then you need to actually look after your mental health first. Now, I have seen people who've done both at the same time. They've been coached while seeing a counselor at the same time. That's perfectly fine, as long as you stay in the right lane regarding your counseling and your coaching, and also that you're able to continue with your coaching, because you will be wasting your own time and your own money if you're not able to fully engage. So you have to have the right headspace, and you have to be actually motivated and want to do it yourself. And if you're not in the right headspace, then I guess, go away, get, yourself sorted first, and then come back. So it doesn't mean that in coaching you can't talk about personal things or how you're feeling. That often comes up, but that is not the aim. The aim is about kind of life dilemmas or career dilemmas. But as I say, you can do both in parallel.
What advice would you give to somebody who's contemplating having career coaching?
I would, yeah. If you're to be honest, I think if you're contemplating it, you probably would be of use. So I think about the things that we've spoken about, and maybe have a little read about what career coaching is, just to make sure that you're clear that it's not career guidance. Because then obviously you're going to have your wires crossed. Check out, if you're thinking about a specific career counselor or career coach, check out their qualifications, their accreditation, see if you can have a look on their website or LinkedIn, or if you have someone who's had career counseling before and they're happy, then perhaps they could recommend somebody to you. Definitely make sure you talk to somebody first before you embark and commit to a series of sessions. And I think that's really important. And then you can, you really, most people I think will realize very quickly as to whether they can hit it off or not. But also don't forget, the coach may also decide that they think that they're not suitable for you. So it's a two-way thing. Or they may decide that maybe you need something else. Maybe you need counseling, or maybe you need a mentor. And I have said that to people in the past, that the career counseling was not for them. They needed something else first, or sometimes instead.
Okay. And my final question, what would be your top tips for a doctor who's considering career decisions?
My top tip would be to, talk to a career coach, to make sure that you do really understand yourself. And so you're making the right decision for you and for your circumstance. And then other very, very basic things is just to make sure that you gather all of the knowledge, available to you, so that you know what the options are, because the options are so wide and vast. And you talk to, if you're considering a specialty, talk to people in that specialty. What I would suggest as well, if you can speak to somebody who loves a specialty and somebody who doesn't, and therefore you can get two sides to the argument. And if you can spend some time, as part of your rotation on, especially, obviously that's perfect. But if not, if somebody will allow you to maybe shadow them for a day, especially if you're already a qualified doctor, then most people wouldn't mind that. But I think, they would be my top tips.
Thank you very much, Siobhan.